Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you out there in the world. So we're going to wait just a few seconds before we get going as usual. Let the live notification kind of seep its way out into Facebook land. And then we're going to get going today on purpose. Purpose on purpose. Okay, we are. Hello, Maureen. Thank you. First one on. All right, so we're going to get started here. We're at the 4:10:35 point. So today is a continuation of our Mindset of Life series. So we're up to the variable purpose today. Now, just to recap, in this series, we have gone through the definition of mindset. We've gone through the definition of entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial lifestyle, and we've kind of brought those together as synergistic things that you want in your life as an entrepreneur. You want the lifestyle, but you need the mindset of life to move forward. So that's the basic premise that we started this series with. Then we've gone over desire, the very first variable, followed by decision, and we talked about attitude. And today we're going to talk about purpose. And purpose is one of those variables that is absolutely essential. Now, purpose has a lot of different connotations. And in the overall formula that we call the mindset of life, purpose is the beginning of where you really start to detail what it is that you as an entrepreneur must do to move forward. And keep in mind that when we talked about desire, desire and purpose might on the surface seem related, but they're really differentiated by some very simple factors. Desire was really about the emotional and logical elements of your mind coming together to focus on a desire that really means something to you, but that you know is possible without putting any probabilities on it. Purpose, on the other hand, is a more concrete element of the mindset of life. It's something that you absolutely have to have if you're going to try to move forward in any entrepreneurial venture. Now, we're going to talk about the various elements of purpose today in the context of solo entrepreneurial activities or just entrepreneurship in general. Because what you end up doing as an entrepreneur is ultimately delivering impact to one or more people on the face of the earth. And if you really consider this, any business, regardless of what industry it's in, ultimately has to impact one person somewhere on this planet. And of course, if they're impacting one, they're impacting millions, generally speaking. So being a solo entrepreneur has exactly the same outcome in the end. Your purpose, which is the variable we're talking about today, is part of a bigger scheme of mindset that leads you to the ability to impact people in the world. So that's the essence of purpose. That's the difference between purpose and desire. Purpose is more concrete. It's now where you start to put the structure around it that enables you to deliver it. So purpose sometimes gets kind of melded with two other concepts. One of those is the so-called why, and the other one is vision. Now, in the prior videos, I have actually differentiated between purpose and vision, but we've not really talked about the why thing. In the personal development space and in some of the entrepreneurial spaces, you hear people make a statement that you've got to have a why. You've got to know your why, otherwise you're just spinning your wheels. But sometimes people have a why that doesn't really lend to success. They have a why that wears out. So I'm going to differentiate between these three different objectives. A why is really a short-term objective that has an end point. So if you have a why, for example, if you're trying to become debt-free, or you're trying to pay off a mortgage, or you're trying to put a kid through college, or you want to take a trip or have your parents take a trip to Europe or Asia or somewhere, that's a why. That's an emotionally engaging element of your life that you want to fulfill. But when it's over, it's over. The why is gone, or at least it's petered out to the point where it has very little emotional significance for you as the entrepreneur or person just seeking to become more. So a why is a commercially digestible objective with an end point on it. And that end point usually comes relatively quickly. Now, a why is a good way to get started. A why is a precursor to purpose. Now, as I've said, when it comes to purpose, just to make sure that we understand the center point here, purpose. A purpose is the external manifestation of who you are becoming as a person in your entrepreneurial journey. In other words, that purpose is delivered by who you become on the inside with your knowledge, skill, talent, capabilities, passion, and so forth. That's internally focused. Purpose is externally focused. It is the external manifestation that has an impact on the lives of others. Otherwise, you as an entrepreneur probably aren't getting a whole lot of traction. So vision is internal, and we're going to go to vision after this. Okay, so we're going to do purpose, and then another step down the road is going to be vision. So that's the difference between a why, a purpose, and a vision. Now, purpose and vision both have one thing in common, and that is you never really reach the end. Now, how is that possible? Well, a purpose is something that's bigger than yourself. It's a big objective that you see out in the future that you want to deliver because of all the things that you identified back in the desire variable phase that we talked about. But as you grow and as you start to achieve your purpose, what happens is your purpose grows. It starts to expand. Why does that happen? It happens because you are becoming a far more capable individual in your entrepreneurial journey. If you look at vision, vision is about becoming the person who is worthy, capable, and deserving of delivering that purpose. That necessarily means that you're growing. Each step you take towards achieving your purpose means that you are growing in the person you are becoming. So there is no end point for purpose or vision. And I know that may sound just a little bit counterintuitive because after all, if I have a purpose, when I achieve my purpose, haven't I achieved it? No, not if you're a true entrepreneur. You're never going to stop. You're going to see how to extrapolate that purpose to something else. You're going to see how to move it laterally or vertically to get more traction in the world to make a bigger impact, because that's the entrepreneurial lifestyle: fun, profit, freedom, impact, right? So purpose doesn't have an end point. It is a lifelong fulfillment of your desires. Okay, now purpose, like desire, does have some disciplines, okay? The first discipline, of course, is do no harm. Whatever the purpose is that you are piecing together, that you are formulating, do no harm. That's number one. Number two, inspire others. Like desire, you want to inspire people with your purpose. You want to make it visible. You want to make it public. A hidden purpose usually lacks momentum. Don't keep it under wraps. It's not like a Christmas present that you want everybody to see only when it's Christmas time. You want that purpose to have its own life because it's your life, okay? Number three, purpose and vision must align just as your desires and purpose must align. So in other words, they got to be congruent. If you're trying to chase a purpose that really has nothing to do with the person you are currently becoming, ultimately there's going to be a divergence there, which generally means failure, or at least a lot more struggle than you really deserve. So you always want to keep in mind that your purpose, your vision, and your desires need to mesh. They need to be in alignment. And that's all part of the reason that we start with desire and move forward as opposed to starting with purpose. Desire is that emotional engagement. Purpose is now when you're really getting more into the intellectual side and to focus on what you're trying to achieve. Number four, believe. If you don't believe in your purpose, nobody else is going to believe in it either. So you have to believe. And of course, this goes back to the attitude variable and all the things that are comprised of that particular variable. Believe. And finally, and this is different than the desire variable. Now you got to start putting some passion into your purpose. Now, passion and enthusiasm kind of go together. They can flip as to which one comes first, but usually what happens is when you have defined your purpose and it starts to engage you, you kind of get enthusiastic, but you become passionate before you get enthusiastic. Others, it'll be flipped. It'll be, they start to get enthusiastic and then they find the passion for it. Either way, that happens to be the next variable. You're going to have, you got purpose, what we're talking about now. We're going to land on passion, and then we're going to go to enthusiasm. In the middle of all of those, by the way, is vision. We just alluded to that, but those two things can come either direction, but that's the last of the disciplines of purpose. So do no harm, inspire others, align your purpose with your vision and your desire, believe in your purpose, and of course, be passionate or be enthusiastic. Now, having said that, now we need to talk a little bit about some of the mechanics of purpose. Purpose is going to be a moving target. For most people, once they have identified that desire variable and they've gone through and they've just really gotten in touch with what spins their top, lights their fire, cooks their rice, whatever that is, whatever it is that really ignites them, that is going to start changing as you get into purpose. And the reason for that is simply that your mind is having a little bit of an opportunity to digest the whole mission that you're painting for yourself with these desires. And you're challenging your attitudes, you're reprogramming your attitudes, you're trying to install new beliefs and new ideas. And, all of this is a transient phenomenon. It's challenging your thought processes. It's challenging your behaviors. And you're putting together, as we said in the prior videos, you're putting together a list of the attitudes that you need to assimilate if you are to move forward. This is an introspective process. Nobody else is going to reprogram you to become a successful entrepreneur. You have to do that. And attitude is a big deal. So all of this is a transient process. So your purpose is a moving target. But ideally, it has a core. And that core is what you're really seeking to achieve in life. It's what will fulfill you. It's what will make the impact you want to bring to the world. Things around that may change. And some of the things that are going to change is the list of things that you have to do to deliver that purpose. Now, this is where it kind of diverges a little bit depending on what you're doing. When you've identified this purpose in life that you want to pursue, you have to next identify one or more platforms to allow you to do that. And a platform is basically the mechanics behind the purpose. It's the business, it's the product, it's, if you're an athlete, for example, it's the trainer, the gym you go to, it's your training schedule. There's all sorts of stuff that you have to consider as your platform to launch your purpose. If you don't have a platform, if you don't have a means to carry your purpose into the world, it basically sits there like a train with no track. It doesn't go anywhere. So that's one of the mechanics of the process that you now have to start looking at. You've got to sit back, you've got to look at your purpose and ask yourself, what are the different avenues or platforms that I can get into, that I can execute, that will allow me to fulfill the purpose? And there's some homework that has to happen there. Part of that is you have to ask yourself, what are you inside passionate or enthusiastic about? Now, you may not have come to those conclusions yet. You may not have reached down to find those variables until this moment. We've talked about desire, which was engaging your emotional components, but what we didn't talk about is how you make all that happen, because we didn't want to complicate the process. We don't want to have you second guessing yourself and having those little internal voices trying to stop you because now you're overcomplicating a simple process. That's what we're going to start doing now, is introducing the complications, if you will, the details. What is the platform? What are the means? What are the various ways you have to bring this purpose into the world? Now, from a purely business and entrepreneurial point of view, call it marketing. Okay, now you have to identify who is going to be the benefactor of your purpose. What is it going to do for them? What value will it bring? What problems will it solve? What needs will it fulfill? And so what? You have to answer those questions. And in the marketing sense, that's called an avatar or a persona. You're identifying the ideal person who will be the recipient of your purpose. And you're looking at them and saying, in the ideal case, what will this do for them? Will it make them happy? Will it make them healthier? Will it make them more excited? Will it enable them to go influence more people to do what you just did? What will it change in their lives? And that's what you have to ask, because a purpose without an impact, that's kind of a lukewarm deal. It doesn't really bring comfort to anybody. So you got to start considering at this stage in this purpose discussion what it is you are trying to do and who's going to benefit from it and the platform that you're going to use to get there. Now it gets just a little more serious because now you're starting to think like an entrepreneur, think like a business person. And after all, what did we say about entrepreneurship? It's the natural state of humanity, right? Because entrepreneurs, what? They identify the needs of people and then connect them with a means to fulfill the need. So you're human, you're an entrepreneur, and now you got to start thinking like it. What are you going to do for the people out there in whatever segment or population you seek to influence and impact? So that's where purpose starts to get kind of encompassing. It encompasses a bunch of different things, your emotions, your logic, your vision. It starts to really develop you into a person of vision, because now you're having to think, what do I need to learn? Who do I need to become to deliver this purpose? And so when we talk about vision tomorrow, we're going to be talking about those mechanics. So let me just run the list here. Okay, well, that's pretty much the conversation on purpose. No pun intended. That was kind of a weak pun, but purpose is very, very important because a lot of people go through life without a purpose. They go day to day, they go to a job, they get a check, they go home, they turn on the TV. But as an entrepreneur, that's not what you do. The entrepreneurial lifestyle that we talked about, fun, profit, freedom, impact, is not something you put on like a pair of shoes or a raincoat. It is something that you wear every day. It is part of your life. You get up in the morning, you go to bed at night, you operate during the day with this mindset of life. It's your life operating system that when you integrate into your life, it is your mindset of life, and it has a purpose. That purpose, which evolves, which flows, it's a continuum of life moving forward, is what gives you the ability to influence people and make an impact. It's what gives you the ability to create that entrepreneurial lifestyle that allows you the privilege and joy of making an impact. So purpose is kind of a big deal, and it's where a lot of people get hung up. They stop on that why, they fulfill their why, or the why never really meant that much to them in the first place, and so they just go backwards to where they were. But if they just taken the extra time to sit down and think through the purpose and all the ways to fulfill it, it starts to engage the imagination, possibilities start to flow, and change can start to occur, which leads to growth. So that's some really heady philosophical stuff that is just practical knowledge and practical considerations for the entrepreneur. Okay, well, that's it for today. I know it's kind of a short live, but that's how very simple and direct purpose is. We just go right to the point. Don't beat around the bush. Teach it. That's what it is. All righty. Well, let's see. Okay, Maureen, you were there. WJ, good to see you again. Hey, Steve, good to see you there. Hey, Ross, hope all is going well. I'm not getting the answers to your morning questions, by the way. They're great questions. Anyway. All right, well, folks, that's it for today. I want to thank you for coming on board and listening today. And for those who are watching the replay, please do leave any questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. I do see them and I will respond, and I appreciate your attention to the videos. And once again, what I'm doing is I'm moving these videos over to another group. You'll see them live here, of course, but to make them easier to access in sequence, I'm loading them into another group, and I'll put the link at some point in the future. All right. Well, thank you once again. Have a great day and a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at. And we'll see you tomorrow.